Buenos dias from Greenway Parks. This is the Rorschach Argentina update from the 22nd of January, 2026. A quick summary of what's going down in Argentina. Let's start with an update on a story from last week. After more than 25 years of negotiations, the Mercosur and the European Union have officially signed their historic trade agreement. Leaders gathered in Asunción, Paraguay on Saturday, the 17th, to formalize the deal, which eliminates tariffs on roughly 90% of goods traded between the two blocs. While this opens European markets to South American agricultural products, it still faces hurdles. The agreement needs ratification from the European Parliament and the legislatures of the Mercosur countries. Plus, French farmers are still protesting, fearing the competition from Argentine beef and produce. Speaking of the legislature, President Milei called for extraordinary sessions in Congress for February. The agenda is heavy. He wants lawmakers to ratify that new Mercosur-EU deal, but he also is pushing for a controversial labor reform to change severance pay and simplify hiring. Also on the docket is a bill to modify the Glaciers Law, which would allow mining activity in areas currently protected near ice masses. Environmental groups are already voicing strong opposition. In security news, the government officially designated the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. The decree, signed by President Milei, aligns Argentina with the United States and other Western allies who have made similar moves. The administration said that the measure aims to strengthen the prevention and punishment of terrorism by freezing assets and restricting the group's activities within the country. Now let's look at the economy. The government announced that 2025 ended with a primary fiscal surplus of 1.4% of the GDP, marking the second year in a row with positive numbers. Luis Caputo, the economy minister, celebrated the result. The World Bank and the International Monetary Fund both predict a 4% increase in Argentina's per capita money supply in 2026. The World Bank lowered its initial prediction, which was at 4.6% a few months ago. To support the energy sector specifically, the government secured a $400 million loan from the Development Bank of Latin America to help improve infrastructure and target subsidies better. However, not everyone is optimistic about the cuts to achieve a fiscal surplus. A new report from the World Economic Forum in Davos identified insufficient public services and social protections as the number one risk for Argentina. For those keeping an eye on their paychecks, there is news on income taxes. The government updated the floor for the income tax for the first half of 2026. Now, single workers will only start paying the tax if they earn more than 2.5 million pesos a month, about $1,700. For a married employee with 2 children, the threshold is higher, sitting at around 3.3 million pesos, $2,300. This change is retroactive to the 1st of January, so employers might have to recalculate withholdings and refund money to some employees in their next paycheck. In the legal arena, the long-running battle over the expropriation of the state oil company YPF continues. The government accused the litigation fund, Burford Capital, of procedural harassment. Burford asked a New York judge to sanction Argentina, arguing officials handed over all the required emails and messages for the case. Argentine lawyers fired back, saying the fund is just trying to obstruct the country's economic recovery and that the state has already provided more than 100,000 pages of documents. On that note about oil, a ship carrying nearly 5,800 electric and hybrid vehicles from the Chinese automaker BYD docked at Zárate in the Buenos Aires province. This is the largest single shipment of its kind to date. It has sparked a debate because the government allowed these cars to enter with significantly lower import tariffs. While officials say it encourages green energy, some local politicians argue it hurts domestic manufacturers who can't compete with the Chinese prices. Staying with business, the Argentine fintech startup Pomelo kicked off the year with a win. The company raised $55 million in a new round of investment. Pomelo provides the infrastructure for other companies to issue cards and process payments. They plan to use the cash to expand their credit business in Brazil and Mexico and launch a new credit card linked to stablecoins, allowing users to spend globally without worrying about currency fluctuations. Turning to public health, authorities are worried about a sharp rise in syphilis cases. The Ministry of Health reported a 64% increase in 2025 compared to the average of the previous 5 years. There were more than 55,000 confirmed infections last year alone. Officials are urging people to use protection and get tested, as the disease is curable but can cause serious damage if left untreated. Now, an update on a story from last week regarding the fires in Patagonia. Unfortunately, the relief from the rain was temporary. Hotspots reignited in the southern Chubut province due to high temperatures and dry conditions. Firefighters are battling flames in the Epuchen and El Ocho areas. While the fire shouldn't spread past its current perimeter, smoke is visible again, and crews are working around the clock. The situation is even worse across the border in Chile, where wildfires have tragically claimed 20 lives. On a much more ancient note, scientists in the southwestern Neuquén province identified a new species of dinosaur. A long-necked herbivore, part of the titanosaur group, that lived about 83 million years ago. Even though it was a titan, this one was relatively small for its family, weighing about 10 tons, roughly the size of a city bus. The discovery helps paleontologists understand how these massive animals evolved and coexisted in Patagonia. If you prefer more modern entertainment, 2026 is shaping up to be a huge year in music. The concert calendar is packed with major returns. Rock legends AC/DC take over the River Plate Stadium in March for their first Argentine shows in 16 years. Pop fans are also in for a treat as Rosalia is set to perform in August, and the global K-pop sensation BTS confirmed they will visit Buenos Aires in October. Other big acts like Bad Bunny and My Chemical Romance are also scheduled for February. In some tragic news from the mountains, a 33-year-old French mountaineer named Guillaume Ferret died while trying to summit Mount Aconcagua in Mendoza, in western Argentina. He collapsed near the top at an altitude of about 6,700 meters, 22,000 feet. This is the second fatality of the climbing season on the highest peak in the Americas. Authorities remind climbers that the mountain demands extreme caution, even for experienced adventurers. We also wanted to issue an apology, as in the episode of the 8th of January, we stated that Millet was named runner-up for the Leader of the Year by The Economist. This was a mistake, as The Economist selects a country of the year, not a leader. On a lighter note, Argentine tennis players are having a strong start at the Australian Open. Sebastian Baez fought through a grueling 3-hour match to beat his French opponent Giovanni Mepetzi Pericor and reach the second round. He isn't alone. 4 other Argentines, including Francisco Cerundolo and Tomas Echeverri, also advanced. It is a great showing for the country in the first Grand Slam of the year. To wrap up, an encouraging analysis. Sebastian Kind, former energy official and current collaborator to La Nación news outlet, published a piece in Spanish celebrating the 10th anniversary of Argentina's renewable energy law. The article highlights how the country defied skeptics taking green energy from under 2% to nearly 20% of the grid in just a decade. It serves as a powerful reminder that clear rules and political continuity over partisan bickering can attract billions in investment and achieve world-class results. To read the full piece, check out the link in the show notes. And that's it for this week. Thank you for joining us. Remember that we sell very cool t-shirts. Check them out with the link in the show notes. Nos vemos la próxima semana.